Going on a cruise to cross the Atlantic must be fun, except for the fact that it's all a simulation and nothing is real. Yep, that's the basic premise of the mystery science fiction series 1899, with a total of 8 episodes for season 1. 1899 slowly unravels the different mysteries that plague the characters. It's already nerve-wracking to figure out what happened to the passengers of a mysterious ship that went missing, but to witness the ship you're boarding past through a whirlpool, only to come out dry and intact on the other side, takes it to a whole new level of mind-blowing. And us viewers can only ask, what the hell? 1,899 times, as we also try to understand what exactly is going on. It all starts with the voyage of the steamship Kerberos on October 19, 1899, crossing the Atlantic from Europe to America and carrying passengers from diverse backgrounds. The central character, Maura Franklin, wakes up in her cabin, troubled by her disturbing nightmares where she's trapped in a mental asylum and insisting on her sanity. Adding to her personal troubles is her missing brother, who only left a cryptic message about their father. Kicking off the central mystery of the show is the mysterious coordinates sent to the Kerberos. The crew believes that the coordinates were sent from Prometheus, the sister ship to Kerberos, which has been missing for 4 months. Captain Ike Larson decides to turn the ship around and sail towards Prometheus's location. This decision is met with great dismay, both from his crew and the passengers. After several hours, they finally see the lone ship, dark, unmoving, and foreboding in the middle of the ocean. Larson leads a rescue team, including Maura, to search for any survivors. They only found one, the boy hidden in the cabinet. Maura volunteers to take care of the rescued boy, who hasn't said anything since. However, he gives Maura a mysterious black pyramid. Meanwhile, the crew receives an ominous message: sink ship. This, along with the unexplained malfunctioning of compasses on board, causes everyone to start feeling uneasy. The passengers feel it too as they look at the abandoned ship. Presence of the rescued boy doesn't answer what exactly happened to Prometheus and everyone aboard. Larson starts having hallucinations about his dead family. His visions lead him to discover a tiled shaft under his bed. At this point, he starts questioning his reality. Driven by this, he decides to return to Europe with Prometheus in tow. This adds to the growing tension and apprehension among the people aboard Kerberos. And then comes the first big reveal of the show. Someone is watching the passengers through modern television screens. So it's not only the characters who start questioning what's going on, but the viewers too. A fog suddenly descends on the ship, stopping it completely. The passengers become more agitated, and the superstitious ones start believing that the abandoned ship and the boy are somehow connected, all these unexplained events. Tension further grows when a family from the 3rd class finds out that their youngest girl had died inexplicably. Franz, one of the crew members, finds more dead bodies in the hallway. He's afraid that what happened to the Prometheus may happen to them. He leads a mutiny, urging people to take control of the ship from the incompetent captain. This adds chaos and confusion to the fear already pervading the ship. The character named Ling Yi is forced to confront her sins by hallucinating about the friend she accidentally killed, which led her to taking her friend's place in this ship. Meanwhile, Larson and Maura decide to investigate the Prometheus. They find another tiled shaft in the captain's cabin, similar to what Larson found in his. Larson reveals that Henry Singleton, the ship company owner, bought Prometheus and Kerberos months ago to be refurbished, but he didn't expect the refurbishments to include these mysterious structures. In the engine room, Larson finds the passenger list for Prometheus, and in it, he finds Maura Franklin's name. It seems they only find questions whenever they seek answers. They return to the ship, and later, the mutineers capture Larson and imprison him along with those who remain loyal to him. Unbeknownst to everyone, a mysterious man named Daniel Solace operates his strange device, causing the Kerberos to vanish from thin air. Another character starts having visions. The stowaway named Jerome remembers how his friend framed him as a deserter during the war. Upon learning that that friend is on Kerberos, Jerome set out to confront him and exact revenge. That friend is Lucien, who is now married to Clemence. Their marriage is a sham built on deceit. Lucien is taking medications to stop his seizures, but he didn't care to tell all this to his wife. The crew, now led by Franz, find out they're back exactly where they were before they went to find Prometheus. Franz orders them to fire the engines and continue sailing towards America. Meanwhile, Eben, the overly religious mother of the dead girl, is convinced that the boy is the devil and that God wants them to get rid of it. She convinces the mutineers to search for the boy and remove him from the ship. They know that Maura is caring for him, so they went to her cabin first. They don't find the boy, so they lock Maura inside her cabin. Although Eben is not having hallucinations, her strong and strict religious beliefs are causing her to deny the more logical reality. The boy, it turns out, is hiding inside the shaft under Maura's bed. He helps Maura escape using the green bug he has on his hands. Elsewhere, Larson and 2 other prisoners, Oleg from the engine room and Ramiro, a passenger who pretends to be a priest, are freed by Jerome and Clemence. The 5 of them plan to escape the ship by lowering a smaller boat to the sea. Maura and the boy find them there. Soon they get discovered by the mutineers. Eben demands they surrender the boy. To everyone's surprise, the boy simply walks over to Eben. Later, everyone is on the ship's deck to witness the boy's execution. Chaos ensues after 2 gunshots ring in the air. Amidst the chaos, Eben successfully overthrows the boy, which everyone witnesses. Larson and others decide to regroup at the dining hall while the mutineers retreat to the steerage. Larson finally confronts Maura about her name being on the Prometheus's passenger list, but she has no idea about it. Then, the cupboard behind them starts to shake and emit a faint glow from the inside. No one has any idea what's happening, and definitely no one expects to see the boy, whom they all saw fall into the ocean just a while ago, come out of the cupboard, dry and very much alive. As quiet as before, the boy goes to Maura and hugs her, while still holding the black pyramid. Maura is plagued again by her nightmares. When she wakes up, she finds out that Larson and the others have imprisoned the boy in the cupboard. When she attempts to free him, they raise their guns against her. But Maura is resolute. A mystery energy bursts out, freezing time. Maura takes this chance to free the boy and escape the dining hall with him. When time unfreezes, Larson and the others are perplexed to find Maura gone. In their eyes, Maura was just there, and then she vanished without a trace. This phenomenon bends what they know about reality, and it certainly heightens their fear of uncertainty. A siren suddenly blares, and after a few seconds, it abruptly stops, followed by a steady ticking sound. The passengers start to walk in a tranced state, and they all head to the deck. A few characters, like Larson and Daniel, seem to be unaffected by whatever hypnotism is happening. To their horror, the entranced passengers jump off the deck towards their death. One by one, they plop onto the ocean with no one attempting to stop them. Meanwhile, the boy guides Maura into the shaft under her bed, which leads to an open space which is eerily similar to her nightmares. By laws of logic, this is impossible because there's no way a ship on sea can be connected to somewhere on land. But Maura proceeds to investigate, especially after seeing the painfully familiar building ahead. It's a mental asylum where her father used to detain her. And speaking of her father, she comes face to face with Henry Singleton, who, according to Larson, is the owner of the ships Prometheus and Kerberos. At first, Maura denies this is real. However, she demands her father to reveal what happened to her brother, Kieran. The cryptic note she received from her brother must have something to do with whatever Henry is doing to all the passengers of the ship. But Henry doesn't listen. A glitch in reality happens, and Maura finds herself getting strapped into the chair. An attendant injects something into her, making her lose consciousness. Maura wakes up to find herself back in her cabin on the ship. She finds Larson and tells him everything. That she's Henry Singleton's daughter, that it's her father who's experimenting on them and doing all these strange things, and that it's the boy and his pyramid that stopped the time earlier. To prove it, Maura leads Larson into the shaft in his cabin, which mysteriously opens to a forest, where his house used to be. The passengers continue to jump to their deaths. Knowing that efforts to stop them are futile, the remaining conscious passengers tie themselves to anything sturdy. Much later, thanks to Daniel, who hacked into the ship's mainframe, the ticking stops. He proceeds to the deck where a handful of passengers remain. He reveals that the sink ship message may not have referred to Prometheus, but to them. Somewhere in a different reality, Henry Singleton orders his servant to send a message. The boy must be brought to him, along with that object. Larson takes his authority back as the captain. He assigns tasks to different groups: look for remaining survivors, start the ship's engine, and send distress signals. He and Maura will look for the boy. Another character, the pregnant Tove, starts seeing visions, revealing why she and her family decided to board the ship and migrate to America. Her brother Crester had illicit fun with the son of their landlord. In retaliation, the landlord injured Crester and violated Tove, leading to her pregnancy. Eben, truly believing they are God's messenger, convinced the whole family to migrate to America. Now, Tove realizes that the true reason they boarded the ship was to run from shame and responsibility. In the engine room, Lucian acknowledges Jerome and asks for forgiveness for his betrayal. He reveals that the reason he wanted to go to America was to treat his brain tumor, which causes his seizures. Jerome realizes he couldn't care less and doesn't forgive Lucian. Oleg and Ling Yi manage to restart the engine. Ramiro and Anchor, Eben's husband, are on the bridge and realize they must steer the ship. They attempt to read the books to learn how to turn the ship's wheel. To their confusion, all the books are filled with repeating 8 words. May your coffee kick in before reality does. Unbeknownst to all the remaining passengers, a black, viscous material is starting to spread all over the ship. Meanwhile, Maura and Larson are inside Maura's shaft looking for the boy. They enter the mental asylum, which, according to Maura, was built by her father to treat her mother's mental illness. And although this place appears in her nightmares, Maura cannot remember what exactly happened there. After inspecting the walls, they find out that the whole building is somehow part of the ship. They also see the black substance spreading everywhere. Daniel appears before them. Tension rises between the three regarding the boy, which leaves Daniel no option but to use his device to send Larson back to his own memory. In a shocking reveal, Daniel tells Maura he's her husband. Understandably, Maura doesn't know whether to believe him or not, she locks Daniel inside a room, and then she flees out of the building. In frustration, she throws her gun, and it somehow causes a crack in midair. Maura sees an edge forming from the crack. She pries it open, revealing the ship's hull. If that's not trippy, then nobody knows what is. Back on the ship, Tove and others see the approaching storm, and Larson, he finds himself alone inside the Prometheus, in the midst of what looks like a graveyard of ships. We then see an intimate moment between Daniel and Maura. Whether it's a real memory or an alternate reality, it shows that Daniel and Maura have a past together. Daniel wakes up, and hearing distant sirens, he resolves to escape and return to the ship. Maura also returns, intending to find Larson. The ship is already swaying from the rage of the storm. Unfortunately, despite their best efforts, the remaining passengers suffer from severe losses. Ling Yi loses Oleg after he gets swept by the waves. Lucian succumbs to his disease. Ramiro loses his selfish lover Angel due to an accident, and Eben, Anchor, and Franz drown when the seawater floods the ship's lower levels. Daniel has reached Maura's memory. He proceeds to an unmarked grave, which leads to a bunker where the boy has been hiding all this time. It turns out this boy's name is Elliot, and he's Daniel and Maura's son. Elliot gives his father his mother's wedding ring, hoping for her to wake up. Daniel eventually returns to the ship, but he discovers that Maura has entered his memory. There, he finds her looking at their family pictures. He reveals that the boy, Elliot, is their son. Maura doesn't believe him because as far as he knows, she can't have children. Daniel explains that this is just a false memory, revealing that everything is a simulation. The whole voyage of crossing the Atlantic on a steamship is just a product of what's happening inside one's head. An alarm blares, forcing them to return to the ship. There, Daniel explains further that the alarm signals the shutdown of the simulation. Overriding the code is the only way to escape before another simulation starts. And Maura has the key to the override. She suddenly remembers the golden key she received together with the cryptic message from her brother. This means she has the code all along. Daniel attempts to reprogram the shutdown to buy them time. While doing so, he describes that if the shutdown is successful, they will be wiped away and stored in an archive. Then another simulation starts, basically repeating the cycle. There have been dozens of simulations, each one running for 8 days, but none of the ships ever made it to their destination. This means that the Prometheus was just a simulation before Kerberos, and this largely explains the mystery of the missing passengers and the supernatural events. One may interpret as well that both the storm and the black substance spreading represent the simulation's impending shutdown. Henry suddenly addresses them over the speakers. Daniel's reprogramming won't save them. They are all trapped in the loop, but he can end it if Maura gives him the key, and in exchange, he'll give them back their son. Indeed, Elliot has been captured by Sebastian, Larson's first mate, who is actually working for Henry all this time. Henry has the Black Pyramid, which has a keyhole inside. When the golden key is inserted in the hole inside the Black Pyramid, it serves as the override that will stop the simulation and will free Henry at last. Daniel has a plan to counter Henry, but he begs Maura to trust him. He gives her the wedding ring, tells her to never forget he loves her, and then he leaves. A 10-second countdown starts, and amidst the storm, a giant swirl opens. Ling Yi is mesmerized to witness the whole ship get consumed by the swirl and come out on the other side of a whirlpool completely dry. They find themselves in a ship graveyard, which represents the simulation's archive. The survivors see the Prometheus beside their ship, and as well as Larson looking bewildered at their sudden appearance. All the remaining survivors convene in Kerberos to process everything. Maura explains to everyone that this is all just a simulation, that it's her father manipulating everything, and that Daniel is trying to help them escape. The thing is, in their minds, it's the year 1899 when the concept of simulation, as what we know today, is simply unfathomable. It's hard to believe all these are happening inside their heads, despite everything they've seen. In the end, except for Larson, everyone decides to escape the ship. But then all the lights become red, and the black substance spreading all over the ship starts coming from them. It doesn't help that random walls start turning into portals, leading to their memories. The survivors are on their wits' end, trying to escape this hell of a ship. It's Daniel who's causing all the distortions. He hacks again into the ship's mainframe, attempting to reprogram the algorithm. He hopes against hope he's not too late before everything fails. Henry and Sebastian watch everything unfold through the screens. They think Daniel is trying to wake Maura up before the simulation ends, but Henry is confident that Maura will surely deliver the key to him. True enough, Maura and Larson have found a way to enter her memories. They are confronted by Sebastian, who uses a similar device to kill Larson. Then, Sebastian brings Maura to Henry. Maura demands to know where Kieran is and what is really going on. Henry ignores this and instead asks for the key in exchange for Elliot. With no other choice, Maura gives the key. Henry then changes the surroundings, turning it into Maura's nightmare. He then reveals the whole truth, that Maura is the creator of the simulation. She made this as her coping mechanism after her son Elliot died. Earlier, Henry showed Elliot the truth that Maura and even Daniel did everything to keep their son from dying. But Elliot's death was inevitable. Maura couldn't accept the reality and so she created the simulation so that in her mind, Elliot could remain alive. As to why the simulation is about a cross-Atlantic voyage at the end of the 1800s, it's left for the viewers to decide. Back to the present, or whatever reality it is, Maura gets injected again, making her unconscious. At last, Henry has the code to stop the simulation. He opens the pyramid and inserts the key into the keyhole. However, nothing happens. Then Henry remembers Daniel, and he has a rude realization. Daniel has changed the codes. Maura wakes up, but she finds herself on the ground instead of inside her cabin. She proceeds to the unmarked grave, which leads to her son's bunker. Daniel joins her shortly after. He reveals that the simulation didn't restart as he managed to reprogram the codes. He explains that every object in the simulation has a value in the algorithm, so what he did earlier was to reassign those values. This means that the black pyramid and the key no longer hold the override codes, and therefore no longer works as intended. Instead, Daniel has changed them to Elliot's toy pyramid and Maura's wedding ring. Before Maura places the ring, Daniel reveals another twist. Her brother Ciaran has taken over the program while she was in the simulation. Henry's never been the perpetrator. He's also stuck like everyone else. That's why it's imperative that Maura wakes up. She then proceeds to place the ring inside the toy pyramid. Immediately, everything turns to black. Maura wakes up to find herself in some kind of a spacecraft. When she looks around, she sees the same passengers of the ship, all hooked onto a contraption that keeps them asleep. She sees a note on the monitor which reads, "May your coffee kick in before reality does." Then, on the monitor, a message appears. Project Prometheus, with 1,423 passengers and 550 crewmen, with the date October 19, 2099. The screen refreshes and a message from her brother Ciaran appears. It says, "Welcome back to reality." So, what do you think? Is this Maura's real life, or is this her fantasy? Another simulation? Comment down below your thoughts.